Hey, how's it going? Basically, just going to do a fan mail and through the mail autograph Q&A. I've got some letters that I'm putting together myself. This usually takes a while, so I figured why not get on here and answer some of your guys' questions while I'm just killing time, basically. And I can kind of walk you through the process as I am doing the fan mail, writing my letters, putting them together, and kind of what the process is behind that for me. Um, so basically, we're starting off with a letter to Will Wheaton. He's Star Trek: The Next Generation actor. I typically type out all of my letters. There's kind of a debate on what's best, if you should handwrite your fan mail, if you should type it out. There's kind of pros and cons to both. I've done both myself. I haven't necessarily found that one works better than the other. For me, I think typing the letter is the way to go. If you handwrite it, it looks maybe a little bit more personal, but depending on how good your handwriting is, it can be a little bit hard for people to read. It definitely takes a long time. For me personally, it cramps up my hand. So it's not a pleasurable experience for me to actually handwrite a letter, especially when it's something that's like that long. It's, quite a bit of work to handwrite all of those words out. So that's why I go for typing. And I even go as far as doing like address labels as well. That makes everything go so much quicker. Just having the addresses on a label, having your letter printed out, and then it's just kind of a matter of assembling everything and getting into the mailbox. So the longest part is actually typing out the letter, figuring out exactly what you want to write. Typically for me, the whole process kind of involves like a research phase where usually I go into it already liking some of the person's work, but I want to write an informed fan letter, something that speaks to their wider body of work that I might not necessarily be familiar with right off the bat. If they have maybe some causes that they've contributed to or some pet interest, like if there's something additional that I can kind of relate to in their work, I try and insert that into my letter to make it more personal and make it more relatable in the hopes that by making a more personalized letter, there's a greater chance that the celebrity will respond to me, maybe send me an autograph if I'm asking them to, go the extra mile and respond to some questions for me, or whatever, like do a sketch if it's an artist, that kind of thing. I find it's definitely better to be genuine and sincere and show that you've actually taken some time and to craft your letter, because some people go out there and they just basically use a form letter, which is essentially imagine kind of like a Mad Libs, like everything's already you got the form on there already, but you're just plugging in the actor name, maybe you plug in the titles of a couple movies that they've worked on, that kind of thing. And people, like, a lot of people are pretty low effort. So I wouldn't want to be lumped in with that kind of a collector. So I try and take my time with the letters. I don't know if you guys have seen my videos on here before, but I always post all of the successes that I get. Whether I get an autograph from a celebrity, or maybe like a signed playbill, or they answer some questions for me. Basically, whenever I get something new, I just take some time as I'm opening it to get that on film, talk a little bit about the actor or the public figure that I've been corresponding with, and I share that for you guys. So if you want to see which celebrities, athletes, and other public figures like influencers are currently responding to fan mail, taking the time to interact with fans, that kind of thing, you can just go to my feed. You can see basically who's responding now. So I would highly recommend that. Last year, I had a very successful year. I got a ton of responses back, and really had a lot of fun doing the research to find all of the addresses, because it's not necessarily, just public information. A lot of the times it is. Sometimes you just have to, it's as simple as writing to the person's agent or manager, which is fairly easy enough to sign. But sometimes you got to do a little bit more in-depth research, like finding a venue, or Like, for example, I wrote to a lot of movie sets last year, and usually at any given time, there's probably like 100 major productions for for film and television going on at any given time, um, with all kinds of like A-list actors and figures like that. So part of the challenge is to find out what production studio that's being filmed at, and if you can find that out and you can get the address for it, then you can write to the production studio where a movie is currently being filmed. Like, for example, Stranger Things, right? That's a popular Netflix series. It just started filming again for its final season. And I sent out a stack of letters to the actors on that one. So I'm still waiting for a response from them. But that's just an example of like, if you find something that's filming right now, you can actually write to the set. And a lot of the times, your letter will get passed on and they'll sign it in between takes or whatever, maybe in their trailer. I don't know exactly how it works, but one way or another, your letter does often get to the celebrity. They read it and they respond to you. I've gotten some really great responses that way with people responding on set. I've gotten like, and it's called via venue, basically like writing to a temporary location, like a movie set or a theater or something like that. I've gotten Liam Neeson via venue. I've gotten Mark Hamill via venue. I remember I was really happy to get Iman Vellani, who plays Miss Marvel. I got her when she was filming the show Miss Marvel, right? And she was kind of like an unknown quantity at that point. Like the show had only just been announced, and we hadn't really seen her in her role yet. There was only a couple like leaked photos that had come out in the press from her shooting on location. But I wrote to her while she was on set, sent her a couple index cards, and I probably got like one of the first autographs from her by doing that, which is really cool. She signed the front and back of both of the index cards that I sent to her, along with a little bit of a note. And you can tell, I think she signed both the front and the back because you can tell she was kind of like working on her autograph, like trying to perfect her signature on there, which is pretty cool. So I have those in my collection, and I've had all kinds of great successes just like that by, sending to actors while they're on set doing a film or a television show. But yeah, if you guys have questions about fan mail, how to do it, who to write to, where to find addresses, anything like that, please let me know. I've got about 20 years of experience in the hobby. I've gotten ton of great success doing it, and I've had not only successes, but I've had a lot of failures as well. And you can learn from my mistakes. I try and like answer all the comments in my videos about best practices for the hobby. Yeah, so I mean, if you don't feel like asking a question now, you can always come back. And yeah, if you got someone who's interested in maybe getting into writing fan mail, like this is like a really good hobby for parents to do with their kids, for teachers to do with students, share the live and we can kind of learn how to do it together. I've currently got a stack of letters right now that I'm working on. I usually send out probably about, on average, maybe 10 fan letters a week, asking for autographs from celebrities, public figures, could be scientists, like anybody who has done something that interests me. And I feel like reaching out and like maybe one, just expressing my appreciation, or two, trying to learn a little bit more about them. And like, if there's something that they did that intrigues me, I can like ask them questions and see if maybe they'll respond to me. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. But in this hobby, nothing ventured, nothing gained, right? So if you ask, then there's a possibility that you will receive. So would highly recommend that you do that. I mean, there's, I think for me, the go-to people are kind of the Hollywood figures, the celebrities and stuff, but I've had some unique interactions with like World War II veterans, for example, like people who were a flying ace. They got like a lot of confirmed kills and while they were fighter pilots in World War II. I've gotten people who were at historical battles like Iwo Jima, Guadalcanal, people who won Purple Hearts or had the were Medal of Honor recipients, even people who were survivors of the atomic bomb blasts in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And like, I think getting these historical autographs is like a lot of fun and a big intriguing part of the hobby, because to me, when I think about like World War II and the past, like it all seems like it's just this thing in the history books that happened. But some of this history is still living. Like some of the people who bore witness to World War II and these historical events are still actually alive. You can reach out to them. You can ask them questions, interact with them, ask for maybe an autograph, them to sign a memento of whatever it was that they were involved in. And, especially for people like that, like the World War II veterans, I think it's really cool to reach out to them because, they appreciate it too. Like a lot of them are now like in nursing homes right now. They don't necessarily get a whole lot of interaction with the outside world. So, it's like a mutually beneficial relationship when you send fan mail and interact with these kinds of historical figures. So yeah, that's one thing that you can do. What I've really also enjoyed is people who sending fan mail to people who have been kind of like historical people in the technology field, like could be founders of big tech companies like now we don't think about it too much, but there's a company called Lotus. They did like, kind of Microsoft Office type software before Microsoft Office was a thing. And, Microsoft, of course, overtook it. But back in the day, in the 70s and 80s, like Lotus was just like this monster of a tech company. And, I've reached out to the founders of that company. I've reached out to one of the founders of Apple. Because of course we know that it was founded by Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak, but there was actually a third founder to the company who co-founded the company, and he was only involved for a couple of years, gave all of his shares back to the Steves, and that's kind of why he's been forgotten. But he's still a founder of Apple, and he is someone who responds to fan mail. So there's all kinds of like really cool people who you can actually make a connection with through the hobby of collecting autographs through the mail. So yeah, right now I am putting together some fan letters, basically doing a lot of talking, so it's taken me a while to actually get these things assembled, but the whole process is pretty simple. You basically just have two envelopes. I'm sending this one to Wil Wheaton. He's a Star Trek: The Next Generation actor. This was a show in the 70s, in the 80s and 90s. Wil Wheaton, I'm sending to him along with, let's do like a 4-question questionnaire. With any luck, he'll not only read the letter and sign the index cards that I'm sending, which are, these kinds of like, they're thick stock, blank on both sides. Hopefully, I'm going to send him 2. Hopefully, he signs them both. And additionally, I'm asking him to respond to the 4 questions that I sent to him. So I'm going to cross my fingers. More often than not, if someone responds, they'll sign the index cards for me. And usually, I don't get a ton of responses on the questionnaire, but sometimes I do get lucky and they'll respond to the questionnaire. Sometimes it's only brief answers. Sometimes I get really in-depth, detailed answers, and that's the best for me. I really love when that happens. So I'm definitely crossing my fingers for that to happen. But yeah, I have the letter. I got the letter and the questionnaire right here. Get the 2 index cards. I just kind of nestle them in right there. Fold it up, do a like hot dog style fold there. So just a 3 fold there. And then it will go into a number 10 envelope. And then, so I got the letter, the envelope. Then I need another envelope, a smaller number 9 envelope. That just goes right in here, right? So that way they're going to have something that they can return the signed items to me in. So I use a stamp. Basically, this has my address on it, so I'll just stamp it there. It makes it really simple, so I don't have to handwrite my address like a million times. Because, like I said, I mean, at a minimum, I send about 10 letters a week, I would say. So that's 10 times a minimum a week that I would have to write my name and address, and it gets repetitive and it takes time, most of all. So having a stamp really helps to save time. And like, if you've been doing this a lot, then it's inevitable that you're going to have some kind of system for a lot of this stuff. Like, because you have to find efficiencies, really, especially if you're doing stuff by hand. Like, it's a time-consuming hobby, and if you're doing any kind of volume, you just have to find efficiencies somewhere. And getting a stamp with your address on it is great. You could also go for like printing out address labels. That works as well. So now for my return envelope, I'll stamp the address right in the middle for the destination, and then I'll write in pencil their address or their name at the top left. This just lets me know who the letter was sent to when I get it back. I don't write their whole address on there, because if there is a return to sender scenario there, I don't want it going back to them. I want to make sure that it comes back to me. So I don't ever write their address for the return address, because if there's like insufficient postage or something like that, I could get kicked back to them, and I want to ensure that it comes back to me no matter what. Historian L says, hello there. Hello there. How are you doing today? Are you a through the mail autograph collector with a name like Historian? I imagine that this is the perfect hobby for you to do. I was just talking about some of the historical autographs that I collect, mainly like World War II veterans and people who were influential in the technology industry, like founding like early video game pioneers, for example, or people who founded technology companies, that kind of thing. So I don't know if you've got an autograph collection yourself, or if you've got particular people who you've interacted with through the hobby. Let me know. That'd be cool to hear what your experience has been like. But yeah, I'm here putting together some fan letters. I've got a stack of them, and I figured I'd just be answering questions here on a live. Do my best to pass the time here. All right, so got one down. I've been talking for like, I don't know, how long have I been on here? 18 minutes. I finally got one down. So cool. Let's see who's up next. Susan Lynn Seville. All right, and she's a Playboy model here. So I've been doing sometimes I do projects where I might write to a certain type of celebrity, or like maybe there's like a theme where I'm writing, for example, members of a team who were like instrumental in programming a video game, or something like that. They have some kind of common thread, and lately that common thread for me, for a lot of people, has been Playboy models, and like vintage ones in particular, like people who were modeling for the magazine in the 60s, 70s, or 80s in particular. I've got about 6 questions on here that I'm asking them, and eventually I'm going to be compiling all of those responses on my website, talesfromthecollection.com, and I'm going to be kind of asking them a myriad of questions about, what it was like at the time that they were, modeling for the magazine, like what the ramifications of modeling for Playboy have been in their life, if it's been good, negative or indifferent, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of times when I ask these questionnaires, some of the interviews that I do go up onto talesfromthecollection.com, and you can find a ton of stuff there. I've also got a curated address database that I assemble for a lot of the celebrities who respond to fan mail. So if you're ever interested on like, where do I want to write a celebrity a letter, where do I send it to? You can just go to talesfromthecollection.com, type in their name, and you can find a good address and start writing away. But yeah, like I said, for this particular project, I've probably already written about maybe 12 or so former Playboy models from decades past. And I've gotten only one response so far, but I really just started to send them out a couple of weeks ago. And that's actually pretty fast for the through the mail autograph collecting hobby. Like, a couple of weeks is basically the fastest that you can expect to get a response to one of your letters. Months is more typical of a time frame, but even having to wait a year or even multiple years sometimes is not unheard of. Like, I've had to wait multiple years sometimes to get autographs back. So, in this hobby, it's like, unless you get something, a letter that's refused and returned to you, you can pretty much like never give up hope. Like, I mean, you hear sometimes random stories about like, maybe like a sports team who they uncover a box of fan mail that got tucked away in a corner, and they like start responding to this fan mail that, the letters were sent over a decade ago or something like that. So sometimes letters, they just get lost under a pile of junk. They get misplaced in a drawer somewhere. And, lo and behold, years later, somebody's doing some cleaning and they find your letter and they respond to it. Like, it happens all the time, actually. Like, it's a lot more common than you might actually think. So, sometimes you're lucky, you get that response really quick. Sometimes you just have to wait. The only really bad part about that is if you happen to move and, your letter gets responded to and it gets sent to an address that you're no longer residing at. I know that happened. I have moved a number of times in recent years, and I know at least one occasion where that's happened. I moved from my old house, and I had written a letter to Pedro Pascal. Or I'm sorry, not Pedro Pascal, to Oscar Isaac. And this was during, I think, episode 9. I think they were filming episode 9. I wrote to him on set and basically asked for an autograph. And since then I had moved, and I went back to my house like 2 months after I had moved to my old house and asked if they had any mail for me. And they had a letter from Disney, and it said that they had gotten my letter to Oscar Isaac and they wanted to use it for a video. Basically, that was the actors of Star Wars opening up fan mail and kind of reacting to it. And they wanted me to sign a release essentially for them to do that. So I got very excited about that, but I knew I was like 2 months behind on that and it probably had missed the opportunity. But I got in contact with the legal aid who had sent the letter, and I gave my authorization. And that was basically all I had heard from that at that point. They said it was probably too late. And I was a little bit bummed out. But like a year after that, I actually found the video that they were talking about. And in the video, you can see Oscar Isaac with my letter in hand. Because I didn't sign the release in time, like they didn't actually have him reading from my letter, but they did have him like reacting to it and talking basically about the contents without actually reading the letter itself. And, what he was talking about was, he's from Guatemala. My wife's from Guatemala. So I had mentioned how he was representing Latin America, and that I really enjoyed having that kind of representation in the movie. And he kind of made a comment about that in his remarks. So that was cool. So that was like a fun story that I had where I had a success, and but also kind of illustrates that like sometimes these letters take a while. And yeah, if you're moving houses a lot, like that can be a problem. PO boxes are good for that reason, because it doesn't really matter where you live. You can always have the PO box open, and it doesn't matter if somebody responds to your letter a year or two late. As long as you have that PO box still, you should be good to go. So there's a life lesson for you if you are a through the mail autograph collector or thinking about starting in the hobby. that kind of thing. If you guys have questions about, how to collect autographs through the mail, or how to get autographs in general, how to preserve them, like what's the best way to store them, that kind of thing, let me know. I'm happy to talk about it. Right now, I'm basically just assembling some fan letters that I have here. I do like maybe like 10 a week, I would say. And I kind of tend to do it in batches so that I'm not having to like come back. I kind of make it as much of a, I don't know, like a conveyor belt process as possible. So like I'll write all of the letters at once, and then once all the letters are written, I'll print them out all at once, and then I'll do all of the envelopes at once, and then I'll ship them all out at the same time. Because there's some economy of scale that goes on there, and it helps save a little bit of time. Otherwise, it can be a hassle getting all your supplies out again and again and again. And yeah, so that you have to find like little ways to save time here and there with the hobby for sure. All right. So I just use these little sticky labels for most people, unless I am just like doing one letter at a time. And I'll just handwrite it. But like if I've got any kind of quantity, it's much easier just to put the address on a label and just do that. So because believe it or not, like writing addresses for all of these people, it can actually be rather time consuming. So yeah, I mean, if you can save some minutes just by not handwriting the address, then also, I mean, it's good because you didn't want your address to be legible and clear so that it gets delivered to where it's supposed to be delivered. You don't want something not getting delivered just because your handwriting's sloppy. So that's another reason why printing a label, getting it done that way is a good idea. All right. Jenny asks, how long does it take to get a playbill signed and returned? I sent a request in August, haven't heard back. So, I mean, first I would ask what the play is. It'd be important to know if the play is actually still running or not. I guess it doesn't necessarily matter. I just got this back today. I haven't made a video for it, but I got a playbill back today. So this is for Mad Women of the West. Unfortunately, the playbill came back really damaged. Like they signed it with wet ink and they just put it back in the envelope immediately. So this signature right here is basically completely obliterated. This one is partially destroyed. But this play ended on the 1st of the month. And it looks like it's postmarked the 2nd. So they probably signed this on the last day of the play and then sent it out the following day after the play was done. So I don't know exactly when I sent it out. I would have to look, but yeah, like for this one, they waited for literally the last minute. They couldn't have waited any longer for the play to be over. So if the play is still ongoing, then you have a chance. But you said you sent it back in August. You said, in that case, I would just send again. It's okay to send again. Your letter probably got lost. Worst case scenario, your letter didn't get lost, and maybe you'll get 2 playbills instead of 1. It's fine. Just send again. The only thing I would say is that Sweeney Todd, some of these Broadway productions, they do require a donation. So did you send a donation with your check? Because I know Sweeney Todd is one of the productions that is requiring a donation. I don't remember exactly how much. I think it was $30 because I wrote to Sweeney Todd as well. I think I donated about $30 to them, to Broadway Cares, which is a charity that a lot of Broadway theaters participate in. It's having to do with finding a cure for AIDS. All right, so you did send a donation, and you showed the receipt. So, yeah, I think my advice to you would just be send another request, print out the donation again to prove that you donated. And I wouldn't necessarily make another donation, anything like that. Just print out the same one that you already donated, and send again, ask it again, because it probably got lost in the shuffle somewhere. I think worst case scenario, you're just going to get 2 signed playbills. So, I did get my response from them, and it didn't like take terribly long. Like, certainly sending it back in August, you should have gotten a response by now, for sure. All right, so now back to writing these autograph requests. So basically every request needs 2 envelopes, one to send out, one to get your stuff back. You should be putting stamps on both the envelope that you're sending and the one that you're hoping to get your stuff back in. That way you're not putting them out for having to go and purchase the postage. Both you're saving them both time and money by providing the return postage yourself. And anything that you can do to make it easier on them, I would say the better your chances are of getting a response. If anyone else has a question, let me know. I'm just here putting these things together while we wait. All right. I think I've only gotten one. Only writing to one Playboy model right now. I've already sent letters to maybe 12 others. I think this is the only one that I'm sending out today, though. So hopefully we'll get some more responses in the near future. I imagine I will. All right, that's 2 down. So I'm making some progress now. It took me the first 18 minutes to get one down, and now, well, I guess it took me about the same time to get a second one in. That's okay. All right. Well, I lied. Actually, I got 2 more people who modeled in Playboy. Sydney Rome is the second one here that I'm writing to. And I'm basically doing some interview questions with them, and all of these will be compiled on talesfromthecollection.com. You can find the responses there when I publish them. As soon as I get like a good critical mass of responses, I'd say at least 5 people responding, I might do the first post on talesfromthecollection.com, posting the interview questions, and then from there I'll probably just update the same page as I get more responses in. But we'll see. We'll see how it goes, how quickly I get the responses, that kind of thing. As far as like these Playboy models, I don't think I'll be showing these responses when I get them on like TikTok necessarily, or YouTube. I think this is probably just going to be for the website. So I'll give you a reason to check it out. If you've never been to talesfromthecollection.com, it's pretty easily navigable. It's laid out for mostly in 3 large sections. You got the production news. So these are all like upcoming movie and TV productions. And basically it gives you information on where the production studio is. So these are addresses where the movies and TV shows are actually being filmed, right? So, in theory, if you're paying attention to the website, you'll know when it's being filmed and where, and you can write a letter to the set of the film and write a letter to one of the actors and request an autograph from them while they're on set. So it offers like a really unique opportunity for people who collect autographs through the mail, because you're going to be able to bypass the agent a lot of the times and kind of get a letter hopefully directly to the celebrity. So take advantage of that if I were you. I've also got a database with addresses for the celebrities on there. It's mostly more of their agent address, or sometimes they have a dedicated fan mail address. So I would check that out as well. I've got, of course, an interview section where I do all of my interviews. I post those there. And there is also a store on there where I do sell some autographs as well. So talesfromthecollection.com if you're interested in checking that out. It's a good time over there. All right. So, like I said, I'm just kind of putting these autograph requests together and just doing this Q&A for you guys. But what's a Q&A without questions? So if you guys got questions for me, anything related to fan mail, let me know. I'm here to answer your questions as much as possible. I did want to do like a demo for some of the major fan mail websites out there. But my screen sharing isn't working right now. I was doing it on the computer, but worst case scenario, I can just turn the camera to the computer screen. If that's something that you guys want to see, let me know. I can still probably do that just a little bit jerry rigged, I suppose. So, but yeah, if you're an autograph collector yourself, let me know maybe who your favorite autograph is from. If you've gotten a good success through the mail, always love hearing those stories. Anything unique. All right, so here I am, just going through got a list of address labels here. It makes everything so easy. I just gotta find where it is, right here. All right, just having trouble locating the address label for this model. This one's going to Italy. I don't have any Italian postage, so I'm kind of relying on this model to hopefully have an extra stamp or two that they can find it in the kindness of their heart to just use and give to me without me paying for it. So fingers crossed on that. We'll see how that goes, I guess. All right, let me see. It's got labels with my name and address and the country on there. You got to put the country USA if you're sending from outside of the country. And but I think 2024 is going to be a good year for me. I don't know if I'm going to send exactly the same volume that I did in 2023 because I sent just a huge amount of volume and it was a little bit taxing. So I'm not sure exactly if I'm going to be sending the same amount of volume, but I'm definitely going to keep it up. Send a pretty good number of requests, a minimum 10 a week. And that seems like probably a really huge number. And for some collectors it is, but for others, I mean, some people go insanely hard in this hobby, like just sending out huge stacks at a time. It's kind of unbelievable how much volume people are able to get out sometimes. So I'm going to go hard, not that hard perhaps as I did last year, but I'm still going to go hard in 2024. And I think I'll have some good successes to show for it. Of course, whenever I do have a success, I might be a week or so behind depending on how quickly I can get the video out. But I do always post the videos on both TikTok, YouTube, Facebook and Instagram as well. So if you're not following me on those places, sometimes I do post unique content to each of those platforms. So definitely check me out on there if you haven't already. If you ever get an autograph in your collection, feel free to tag me in your video or on your post. Love checking out other collectors' successes. So would love seeing more of that. Now, all right, that one I got done pretty quick. So far, it's been taking me like 10 minutes to do each of these letters because I've just been talking, not concentrating, and this is going to take me all night, basically. All right. As I've already gotten 3 put together. Normally, like at this point, like I've already gotten the letter written out. I've gotten the labels printed. I've got the postage all right here. So essentially the assembling of the fan letter typically doesn't take more than a minute for me to do, but because I'm not paying attention, it's been a really slow process tonight. So I'm going to try and speed it up here a little bit more so I can go on to do bigger and better things. But some of these I did. Some of these I just did today. Some of these I did yesterday. I spent some time for the last couple of days typing up these letters, doing some research on the celebrities, finding out, unique facts about them, some of their interests, so I can mention details that are pertinent to them in my letters to make them more personal, make them more authentic and unique. And the point of that is basically just to hopefully get a response, because I think the more genuine you can make your response, the more, or make your letter, the more likely you are to get a response. I type all of these, and basically the only handwriting I do is I sign the letter. Sometimes I'll handwrite the addresses, but because I had at least like 10 to do today, I just decided to put them all on address labels. So that's what we're doing there. All right, this one's going out to Los Angeles. I'm writing to Mimi Rogers, another Playboy model, who hopefully will answer some of my interview questions and get back to me on that kind of stuff. I've done some nice interviews with like visual effects artists in Star Wars, people who are I've done like video game programmers who worked on influential projects or like were early pioneers in the industry. I've done Q&As for like World War II vets. Lots of different people you can ask questions of. Speaking of asking questions, this is a live Q&A. So if you got questions about, it could be about autographs, could be about writing fan mail, could be also about Comic Cons as well, like the best way to prepare for one. Because I go to a lot of cons, particularly to meet the guests, do photo ops, get the autographs, that kind of thing. So if that's something that you're interested in doing, if you've got experience doing it already and you got a story to share, let me know. But yeah, right now, like I said, I've got some fan mail here. I'm just putting together the letters. It's a little bit of a production, so I'm just here answering questions as I do it. All right. If you guys haven't had an opportunity to check out my videos, I highly recommend you go to my profile and see kind of some of the people who typically respond through the mail. All right, Mimi Rogers, that's who I'm writing to. So I got the addresses right here on a label, makes it nice and easy. All right, I'm picking up speed as I'm kind of concentrating more on just getting this done. I've been almost 45 minutes. I've been trying to get these letters done, and I would have been done about half an hour ago typically. So I think that's it. There's another one. Yeah. Come on, guys. I know you guys have some kind of question for me, right? You got to. You must have a question. So for me, I started this whole thing maybe about 20 years ago now. I was in high school, and actually, I kind of discovered through the mail autograph collecting was by watching an episode of Antiques Roadshow. So I don't know if you're familiar with Antiques Roadshow, but basically it's a PBS program, and people bring in old antiques and they get them appraised. Well, one of these episodes, somebody brought in an old autograph album that I don't know, one of their relatives owned, I guess. And they had obtained the autographs in the album by writing to these Silver Age movie studios like MGM, Columbia, that kind of thing. These old studios, they would write to the actors and they would get some responses back. And to me, that was kind of like revolutionary. Like you could write to these people and get a response from them. That's kind of crazy, I thought. So kind of gave me the idea, like, well, if they were doing this like 80 years ago, how come I can't do that today? Well, surprise, surprise, actually you can. Like it's it's still a thing. Writing fan mail is still a thing, and celebrities and public figures actually do still respond. So I went onto the internet, primitive as it was 20 years ago. There were still a lot of resources online back then, and it was not that hard to find out about the hobby of through the mail autograph collecting. There was a fairly decent sized community built up around it, and people who I saw were like out there writing celebrities on a regular basis, getting responses, getting photos signed, and I was like, man, this is a really cool hobby. Like, I can't believe people are actually doing this. And it wasn't long before I tried my hand at it, and I was really into Star Wars back then. I mean, I still am. So that was kind of like where I concentrated my efforts, and I started to write a lot of not only the actors, but some of the behind the scenes people, like, Stormtrooper number 5 on the left, and, in one scene on Tatooine, like, kind of obscure people who just had like the minorest, smallest roles in the movies. I would write to them and get autographs from them. But like, even that was just a ton of fun. Like, I had a ton of fun reaching out to these people. So anyway, I think that's probably going to be it for tonight. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comments. Other than that, I'll talk to you guys later.